So to follow up on the last video I did, I want to talk to you a little bit about this the Evinrude 9.9 engine. Pretty much the same as the 15, same engine. The recoil starter. Since we took the flywheel off in one of my previous sessions, it's really good to talk about this now because you can really see what's going on. So let me just zoom in on this a little bit so that you can see better what's going on. So now I did talk about this safety lockout here, this red, it's a lockout detent, right? It actually follows along, again, the ignition plate that we talked about as it rotates. So the whole idea what's going on there is if you have it in gear, which allows you to go full throttle, remember we talked about that last time, and you kill the engine, because you could just come over here, push the kill button right up here, you know, on the outside of the engine, hold it in to kill the motor. Well, so you get sidetracked fishing, doing whatever you're doing, having a good time, enjoying the water. Then you go to start the motor and you just grab the rope and pull it. It's in gear, the throttle's wide open, you'll be ended up in the lake and your boat is just going to keep on going down the down the trail there. So what they do is they put this feature in there so that, see, now I've got it in gear, I've got the throttle wide open, but look what happens. Okay, that keeps me from doing something boneheaded. All right, so that forces me to reduce the throttle down to a level where I can engage the flywheel and start the engine. Okay, so you got that. Now this starter, a lot of folks obviously run into the issue, you've got to change the rope on it. Eventually they break, right? So there's just one bolt that holds this entire assembly in. And I'm going to turn this so I can get access here. There's a little tab there, that cam. I'm going to take this out and show you how it comes out and then goes back in. Now, one thing to know though is, you know, there's a coil spring in there. It's actually like a ribbon spring. Long, it's very long and coiled up. And since it's tied to this take-up reel, okay, the take-up reel wants to pull the rope back in this way. So that means the spring is wound the opposite direction. So as I pull on this, you can see it's actually winding the spring up this way. And then when you release it, the spring wants to relax, pull the rope back in. The one thing to know though is this assembly is not, it's not bolted together in such that the only thing holding the take-up reel down into the spring, into the housing, is this bolt here. So once you take this bolt out, you need to make sure that you hold the take-up reel and the base of this assembly together, because if you let loose of it, that spring will come out of there, and it's quite a tedious job winding it back up by hand, and you need about 3 hands to do it. So that's from experience. But what I wanted to show you, a couple little tricks. So if you're taking this out, I'm going to start by pulling this, getting the rope out about as far as it can go, right? And it's pretty, you know, it's got some tension on it. But now come over here and wrap the rope around this guide a couple of times, so that holds the tension on it. So see, now I've got all this rope loose, so I can loosen this up and lift it out, and and that's what you don't want to happen. I'll take this back around. So that actually, I didn't quite get to that step yet. So when you do that, take this reel up and you wrap it around a couple times. I was getting ahead of myself here. Take a little tie wrap and put a tie wrap in there. That'll keep that from coming loose. So actually that was well, it was embarrassing for me to have that happen. It's actually a good demonstration. So I put a tie wrap on there, that'll keep that from jumping loose. So now I can take my 9/16, take that bolt out of there, And again, I got to remember that I don't let this take-up reel come loose from, or get separated from that base housing, or I'll have a mess. And I really don't want to do that. So there's the bolt, shoulder bolt. When you reassemble it, put a little bit of lube on here. There's some white grease or lithium grease or something like that. So now this guy here, we talked about the detent. We just pull that back out the way, like that. Okay, so now they have your recoil starter here. So you can see it's kind of messy, but that's from the lube that's in there. So here you can see the spring, the tail of the spring, the way it sits in there, right? So what I wanted to do here is change this rope. So what you can do, the rope, it just goes through a hole and you tie a knot on the end. So now I've got this out of here. I want to keep this from spinning. All right. So I'm going to find a good spot that I can clamp on here. Keep that from rotating. I'm going to have a mess here, I can tell. It's wanting to turn this way, so I gotta be on this side of it. I'll put that, that's not enough. I don't want to break the plastic. All right, so there. Now, that should allow me to get the string out of here. So now I can go with my cutters, which I've seemed to have misplaced. So I can probably just break this off here. All right. This is not the way I wanted to demonstrate this. But you can see the spring is trying to get away from me here a little bit, right? So make sure I keep that in there. As a matter of fact, a good way to help would be put this bolt back in here, like that. That actually helps a lot. So now I can undo the rope, right? And I can fish it through the hole. I'm not having much luck getting that through there. But I don't know if you can see up in there. There's a spot where the knot goes in, right? I'm trying to pull that out. So I'm going to stop the video and get a scribe or something that I can get in there and pull on that. All right, so I had to let go of it for a minute or two to go get a scribe. So what I did is I wrapped some tape around that to hold it together. So now I'm trying to get on the back side of here where the knot is so I can pull that rope through. It's been in there for so long that it's kind of really seated itself in there. So it is really jammed. There we go. So I need to give it some slack here. I'm trying to do this so everybody can see. So you can see there's the end of the rope. So, and you'll notice the knot in it is not a regular little, it's just not a knot like that, because that'll eventually slide out and pull out. It actually has the tail wrapped in through a second time. You know, try and show you how to do that. And then it's hard feeling. You wonder why it's hard. Well, they heat it with a flame and just hit it with a rag and wipe that, and what it does is it melts that nylon. It makes it a hard little knot. It'll never come undone that way. So we got that out of there. We need to grab a razor knife. I had a razor knife. Yeah, so we can probably just use this here. So you just cut that knot off of there. Cut that knot. And this is pretty tough stuff too. And these are not necessarily dull strippers, but there we go. So now, I've got that undone. I want to make sure I put the rope through the proper way. So I'm going to feed it in from this side, tie the knot on this side. So here we go. I'm pulling the old rope out. Got a section. Here's the new rope. You get that in that same hole. Might be a little tough to actually get it in there, but trying to feed that in through the hole. And I think I missed it. So, you know what I'm going to have to do is move this. So, again, it wants to wind that direction. I got to be really careful now because I could lose the whole shit right here. You probably cannot see that. I can hardly see it. Oh, there we go. I'm getting it. I'm getting it. I'm getting it. It's coming out the other end. There it is. All right. So this is still taped together, so I can let it go. So I've got the cord pulled through the take-up reel. I need to tie a knot on this end, and I wanted to show you. I'm going to zoom in on this here. So typically, you know, the knot needs to go like this and then back through like that, right? And then when you pull it up, pulling on this always puts tension on the tail. And so this is how you put it on your grip, on your T-handle. That way it won't pull off of there. However, in this take-up reel, the take-up reel has a very small hole in it. So that big knot that I just did is not going to work. If you just tie, typically if you just tie a knot like this on your T-handle, eventually that'll slide out of there, pull out of there. But we're going to have to do it on this, but there's a little trick to it. So what I do is I pull the knot up. This is just a, I guess they call it a half hitch or something like that. Pull it up real close to the end. Hold on. Like that. And then we're going to fuse it together with heat. It's nylon. It'll melt quickly. So we're going to try that. We'll see how this one goes, right? So if you don't have one of these, they're pretty handy, but you could use just about get that big knot. So it just gets started to melt. And then take a rag and pull on it. Make that knot real small. And that, I don't know if I like that. I might do that over again. That's a pretty good knot, but I'm not quite happy with that. So I'm going to cut it off and do that one again. So here we go. I'll cut this off. Cut this off here. The same cutters I had yesterday. That didn't work very well. That looks pretty bad. You know, let's just use a razor knife. A dull razor knife. All right, so let's try this again. So I take the knot. I'm just going to tie a small knot in there, right? Pull it up as tight as I can get it. Like that. Like that. Now we're going to put some heat on it. Toward the end. I don't want to melt up here. still molten. Grab it, give it a squeeze and a pull. Now that is a knot that I do not believe is ever going to come out of there. So then we'll just we'll just put it in this take-up reel. Should fit right in here. And there we go. We got that pulled in there. Good and tight. Good and tight. Now, of course, I got this the other end of this rope here, right? So I want to make sure that I feed it through the housing here. I want to feed it through this. Well, I actually put a knot in this already. So we take this end, put it through this housing, pull it all out of there, right? And now, remember what we did before. We tied this up here, right, so it wouldn't spin back. We're going to do the same thing, so I don't lose it. I'll put a tie wrap on it, so I don't release the spring pressure. So I'll put a tie wrap on it. That'll make sure it doesn't get away from me. All right, so what do we want to do now? We want to get this tape off of here, right? Of course, when I cut the tape off, I got to be sure that I'm holding on to it, because I don't want it to spring apart. Tape is off. I've got the bolt here. It's trying to come undone. And what I want to do is get that rope on the take-up reel. Okay. So the other thing I want to point out to you is, so this tab here, this tab has to go in this hole. This tab goes in this hole, and then the bolt threads in this. And you got to be careful of this little spring here. Pull this spring back out of the way. Oh, so I have to release this now, right? I've got it tied off so I can release my locking pliers from the reel. Okay. So now, how does this clock? It clocks like this. And I want to pull the spring back. I should be able to set that down in there. And when it's in the right spot, you'll know, because it'll... get this spring up out of here. All right, well, I guess what we got to do is remove this, and we're going to have to let this take-up reel go a little bit here. All right, there we get the rope on there. Little shit rope. Now let's see if we can get this son of a bitch started down here. All right. I'm pulling on the rope a little bit. I'm going to lift this bendix up so I can get that rope on the other side of it. So we'll do this way. There we go. Jesus Christ. There we go. All right, now. Should take up a lot. Okay. Just a bit of ratchet on there. All right. So that gives me pretty good. I might want to coil this one more time around. Give myself a little extra rope on there. And again, fish this up through this little hole. Okay, so if you didn't think that was a pain in the ass, then we'll go over here. So now I got this T-handle to put on, right? Kind of a cheesy one. It's what I could find locally. Again, you gotta fish the thing through there. There you go. All right, so now I made sure I got plenty of pull on this, right? I got lots of extra rope here. I'm just gonna pull this up. Want to make sure there's just enough tension in there so it keeps this from hanging loose like that or something, right? So I'm going to pull up about to there, and I'm going to make my knot. It drops down inside of there. And actually, you know what? I think I want to take up a little bit more than that. So I'm going to pull it out. And I'll just do it again, a little further down the road. So I got that, pull the vacuum through like that. That looks about right. I like it. All right. So if that wasn't a pain, no, it is. Anyway, that's how we put that back together.